Hey there, fans of brotherly love wrestling. It is I, Vic Delicious.
Philly's own, the Mecca here.
It is the real McCoy, J.D.X. Justin D. Xavier. And
it's your man, CD, the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend RJ City.
Hey there, brotherly love wrestling. Bill Carr here.
Hey everyone, this is two-time guest Wheeler Yuta.
Two bozos from Philadelphia flapping their gums about pro wrestling this, pro wrestling that.
Which is not that unique in the grand scheme of things yet.
You are in for a treat because you're tuned in to Brotherly Love Wrestling.
Philadelphia, are you ready?
No! They said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome, everybody, to Brotherly Love Wrestling, and we hope you enjoyed WrestleMania weekend, and what a weekend it was in Philadelphia. But as you can see, joining me, Joe is not here, which I think is only for like the second time in 300 and some odd episodes that Joe is not co-hosting the show with me. Today we have our executive producer, or as Joe likes to call him, the executive custodian of the show, Bill Fry joins us. Bill, thank you for filling in for a sick Joe today.
Oh, he's not actually sick, everyone. They just needed more beard on the show. He lost his beard and we needed to fill it in.
And since he's lacking in that area right now. So we saw each other at Mania night 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
took a long trek around the entire stadium.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, we didn't really talk afterwards, but like, come probably halfway through the night, that wind on those ends of that stadium started to come in, and it was fucking cold. Like, it probably wasn't as cold as night 1 was. I heard night 1 was fucking freezing, but
it
like,
was awful.
Dude. All right, so I literally had Under Armour, my American Dream shirt on, and jeans. And I thought, because it was so nice, I'm like, you know what, I'll get a hoodie. Weren't selling hoodies. So I got this shirt. So like by the third match, I took the shirt out and I put it over my arms and over my shoulders. I was kind of sitting like this. like
the sad part is, in line, I warned you guys that it was gonna be cold either way, and you're like, nah, it's nice out. It's all good.
And the problem was, we were in the
Imagine what we were feeling like on night 1.
No, see,
when it
I
was
would have
4 times as cold, and I went with like a t-shirt and like a long sleeve shirt, and like bought a coat at
the problem is
at the Philly stadium.
I was prepared. Honestly, I had a whole nother jacket in the car, and we pulled up with it. We got out of the car, we start tailgating, and we're throwing around a ball in the parking lot, and like, I'm starting to sweat, and like, Joe's fucking getting on my case. Oh, you look like you're going to Alaska. I'm like, all right, I'll take it off. And then we're so warm, been drinking and playing ball, that I was like, oh no, I'll be good. It's nice out. We'll be good. And then I'm sitting there at fucking 9:30. I'm like, I fucking wish I would have worn my fucking jacket. I was starting to freeze.
Night 1, I think they personally increased the stock price of Dunkin' Donuts via hot chocolate purchases and coffee purchases.
I heard that was a popular buy night 1.
Oh yeah, and it got to the point where people were buying the twisted soft pretzels because they were in the warmers.
They were warm, yeah. I had one that I kept with my shirt. And I forgot about it. And I went to take my shirt. And I was like, oh, I got a warm pretzel. So I kind of was like eating it underneath my shirt, hoping to keep the heat like a fucking hot, warm plate. Like, oh my God. But no.
People were buying them as hand warmers for night 1.
But I'll tell you what, that main event hit. And Cody came out. And Roman came out. And it was just like the entire stadium, didn't matter how cold it was. Because that was just... it was a shot of adrenaline for that entire crowd. And then once Solo came, or Jimmy was first. Once Jimmy came out, it was like, here we go. Everyone knew. It was like, all right, this is where everything's going to start to happen. But I don't think the Seth Shield music. I don't think anyone expected that. And all right, so
everyone immediately thought Ambrose.
Yeah, it's okay. So it wasn't just us, because Joe looks over at me and goes, "There's no fucking way," and I said, "No way. It can't. It can't be. Like, it can't be. It's Mania, but it's not. No fucking way." And then no one saw Seth. Like, no one saw him get in the ring.
Yeah, and they turned it two ways too, because no one expected the last person who came out either.
No, not expecting a Taker gong, and it was so funny because, like, usually I'm a very reserved fan when it comes to wrestling. I'm not the loud, boisterous fan. Like, I'll cheer, I'll clap, but like I don't show a lot of emotion, even when I'm drunk. Like, I don't really get that. Joe can be, but even he's kind of reserved. When Taker's gong went off, we are standing, and I'm jumping and slapping his shoulder like I was. Like, I couldn't help it. I didn't even know I was doing it until I was doing it. Like, I was filled with so much joy, and and then of course Cody actually winning, because I didn't think it was over. Like, I was still expecting Austin, like we said for weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And when he hit the 3, it was almost like, did it really happen? It was kind of like the Becky finish from 35.
Yeah.
Like, it was 3, but it was like, wait, that really, it's over? Like, until the bell rang. And then you couldn't hear Samantha Irvin, even though she was really emotional. So, like, it wasn't as loud as she typically does it. But you couldn't hear her announce. That crowd was going insane.
And that's the thing, is there was so much posted online after night 1, people talking about how, you know, the crowd was dead, Philly doesn't deserve a WrestleMania, all these other slanderous things about our city. And I get it, because the crowd was quiet. There was
compared to a normal Philly crowd.
Yeah, compared to a normal Philly crowd. Listen to Raw.
Yeah.
And listen to Night 2.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is like, the real chill, like wind chill, was like 18 degrees. And everybody came preparing for 55.
True. Yeah.
So everybody was freezing. Half the stadium was out trying to buy hot chocolate or pretzels or coffee or anything merch related that they could stack on top of themselves.
Yeah.
And people were taking shifts into the bathroom to try and get warm.
Yeah.
I thought
about it. I thought about it before Seth Roman. I'm like, dude, I might go watch the second to last match, even though I really wanted to see the women's match. I was like, I might fucking watch this in the tunnel. And then I thought, wait, it's a fucking tunnel. It's going to be a wind tunnel. So that's not going to do me any good. And if I walk back there, it's an open fucking ended stadium. It's just all like, I have nowhere to go but, like you said, the bathroom. But like, I'm like, screw it. Main event's coming. But I mean, all in all, dude, like, I know obviously you were at night 1. And I'm not afraid to admit this. I didn't even tell Joe this. I literally only told my mom, because my mom gets it. So Seth, his mummers thing. My grandmother, my mom, who passed away in 2013, I think, was obsessed with the mummers. At my wedding, we played the mummers for her, so she danced to the mummers song. And so he came out with the mummers, and me and Joe are laughing hysterically. He's like, this fucking guy, like, he can't get any more outlandish, and we're laughing hysterically. And then, like, something hits me, and my eyes filled with tears, and like, a single tear dropped down my face, because it just was like, in this moment was one of the happiest moments as a wrestling fan to be A, at WrestleMania, B, in our own city at WrestleMania. Not to mention seeing the skyline right there. Like, it was the first match. Like, it was just all this emotion. I used to, like, you know, like the crying CM Punk guy and guys that cry. I was always like, come on, man, it's fucking pro wrestling. And then I'm there at Mania and I have a tear running down my face just because these emotions. And I was like, all right, I get it. I get it now. Like,
I get it now.
There is some there was some connection that those people, and like I felt my grandma in that moment, seeing the mummers, and like it just everything overwhelmed me so much. And I'm not afraid to say it. It doesn't bother me, but it's just like there was that moment, and then the Cody moment where there was people crying when Cody won. Like it's just I didn't until that exact moment. I never understood the being that emotional, but it just all got to me at that point, and everything all together. And of course, God Bless America was fucking amazing. They did a great job doing that.
Oh yeah,
before the first match, like everything, all about it was amazing. I posted some of the pictures on our Instagram and our Facebook. Like it truly was unforgettable. I'll never forget that WrestleMania.
The lady who sung the national anthem on night one.
Yeah,
was fucking incredible.
I mean, we heard it in 2300. They did a pretty good job with the sound system, and it was, and that in itself, by the way, for anyone who didn't, because it was a pretty chill crowd. Like there wasn't a ton of people there, and we hung out with Vic from the Now, and that was cool. We got to sit with him for a while, talk shit with him. We got there so early. We got to meet Mark Henry because he was there from the Busted Open party a little bit before. And Mark was such a nice guy and down to earth. And Kid Osborne. Kid Osborne was sitting at the bar. And me and Joe walk up for our first beer, and Kit's right next to us. So now we're talking shit with Kit back and forth every time we get a beer. Like I walked up there one time, I put my head over his shoulder. I was like, how much does it suck as a Cowboy fan to see all this green? And he's like, dude, until you fucking brought it up, I wasn't even thinking about it.
Dude, speaking of which, there's a YouTuber that I watch, Tom Grossi, who does like football stuff. He's the NFL fan of the year, of the official NFL fan of the year. He's a Packers fan from New York. He drove down from New York with his dad because his dad took him to WrestleMania 23, I think it was, in Detroit.
Yeah.
And they sat behind the stage in like the last row with a limited view.
Yeah.
And now that he's a big YouTuber, and like even McAfee gave him a shout out on commentary and stuff.
Okay.
Because he was on McAfee's show a couple times for his charity thing. He traveled to all 30 stadiums in 30 days.
Oh wow! Holy fuck.
And raised like, I think it was like $750,000 for St. Jude.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. But he said he wanted to pay his dad back, so he took his dad and was in second row hard cam side for Mania. He sat right next to the guy Ruby that I was telling you about,
the Macho Man.
Two chairs down.
Yeah.
And he took his dad to our WrestleMania both nights, row 2, right in front of the ring. And his dad's a Cowboys fan. And they always do the live streams of the games. And his dad's always on when the Cowboys are playing.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, and he's got like a gray hoodie on, his dad. But you could see right underneath here, there's a green turtleneck. And I'm like, I was half tempted to go into a stream later and just call him out for it. But it's hilarious because like there were so many like, you know, Cowboys fans and Braves fans and stuff like that were showing up, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, you know, well, welcome to Philly.
Yeah, and not only that, it wasn't just all right. This is the Eagle Stadium, and not only that the entire logo and theme of WrestleMania was green.
Yeah,
but everybody, for the most part, 90% of the wrestlers that came out that night or both nights were wearing some tribute to the Eagles. Whether it was the eagle head, whether it was just the wing, or just the green and gray, or the Kelly green, like everybody was wearing Eagle stuff, which was cool to see. I can't say enough about just watching a lot of stuff, and I'm still catching up on a lot of the indie stuff. I've been watching, like I call it Fight Sport. I still gotta watch a lot of the. I want to watch For the Cultures one because Too Cold Scorpio wrestled Frontman, and I know that was a banger. So I gotta go back and watch that. Like I'm still trying to catch up, but like from what all the records that we've broken, that I mean, the gates and the sellouts and some crazy like 1.3 billion minutes of WWE was watched on Peacock this weekend.
Mhm.
Like, it's just mind blowing the numbers that are coming out, and we haven't
Yeah.
even heard the revenue from the city yet. I'm sure sometime this week
Oh,
or
yeah.
weekend we'll probably hear that, and that's, I guarantee, will be over 200 million. Like, it's just you would have to think that they're going to come back once they do like Minnesota and Vegas, you know what I mean, like the newer stadiums. How could you not want to come back when you do that? You know what I mean? Like, just numbers like
Just
that.
a couple weeks later.
Yeah, for real. But like, yeah,
but it's also the one thing that made me sad about this Mania that I wish would have happened was Ricochet getting a chance to wrestle in the stadium because he's such a huge Eagles fan.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see him wrestle in the link.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah, it sucks. But I mean, all in all, look, this weekend was great. It just, the amount of wrestling fans, and like even when we walked up and we're walking up, and I know you were there earlier and you did the tailgate and stuff like that, but we're walking through and we walked up through Xfinity Live to get there right before I called you and you were in line already. And like, they're just like, it's so hard to describe because in New York, when we went to MetLife, it's a big parking. I mean, it's a parking lot around it. Don't get me wrong, but like with Xfinity Live down there and everything that's down there, it was more like a festival feel. And walking around and you're hearing wrestling music left and right, and everyone's. I didn't see any assholes. Like, everyone was so welcoming. It was the complete opposite of what an outsider would expect coming into Philadelphia and hearing all the shit they talk about Philly. That you walk in and it was just so much fun. They're blown away to walk outside Xfinity Live and hear Mr. Perfect's theme and then John Cena's theme. Like, it was just like I said, I think a lot of it is overwhelmed because I just could not envision anything better. Like, my wildest dreams. Plus, it surpassed.
Don't forget the intermingled that was echoing throughout the parking lot because you would hear one and then like 500 people around them would come back with one. So or yeets were all
that was another
over
one.
The parking lots.
We're walking back and like it was like a shuffle throughout the wall till we get to the stairs, and there was these 2 or 3 dudes, probably about mid-20s, in front of us, and that is all they were doing was and let me talk to you. And I'm telling you, we were stuck behind these guys for 15 minutes in these lines. And I finally got out and past them. And I'm walking with Joe, I'm going, if I never hear ever again, it'll be too soon. Like, I understand why people find him fucking annoying now, because that dude wouldn't shut the fuck up. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Feeling good. Like, do you? I'm glad you're having fun. But I was just like, if I fucking have to hear one more I'm done. Like, I'm done.
Okay.
I couldn't do it anymore.
So after night 1 and night 2, Jen and I went to Raw and got sweet tickets. And on the way out, there's, outside the Wells Fargo, there's that area by the loading docks where all the buses and the cars are parked that are gated off.
Yeah.
There was people waiting to see if any wrestlers came out. So Jen and I waited for a little bit, not too long. The entire time, it was let me talk to you, yeets, Stone Cold impersonations the whole time. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've been listening to this for 5 days.
Yeah.
I'm ready to take a break.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Like, you can see why it works in small doses. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot.
But it's also the point of, like, that's the only bad thing you can say.
Yeah. Oh,
absolutely.
About
a Mania in Philly.
Absolutely.
Like
and it's not even that it's bad. Like, when you hear it that much, it gets annoying. But it's not bad. Like, dude, you're having fun. I get it.
But that's the only negative connotation thing you can say about a Mania in Philly.
Yeah.
Other than it being fucking cold.
Yeah.
And God fucking damn it if it doesn't turn around and be 70 fucking degrees the entire week after Mania.
Yeah. 70 and sunny for the next, like, week and a half now. like, of course. Of fucking course.
Yeah.
But So I do want to kind of talk about Raw after Mania because there's other things I do want to touch on. So I thought Hunter coming out, which was cool to start off Raw, anointing this. I mean, the Paul Levesque era. I'm sure he doesn't like it being called that because we don't know what this is yet. It's just starting. So time will tell what this era will be known for and what will we end up be calling it 10, 15 years down the road. But Cody being the champ, not expecting The Rock, and which I think is the biggest story coming out of Mania now is what did Rock put in Cody's hand? There's a
What
lot
did
of
Rock have intention with that sensual ass title exchange?
So wait, I meant to tell you because we real quick we talked about it real quick today when I asked you to want to be on. I did see that back in I want to say 2013, Cody did that to The Rock. So if you remember when the Rock was given that WWE title, like the brand new title, and he was given it, right?
Yeah.
Cody was in the ring and asked to hold that title. Which I don't think a lot of people knew, but there were certain people popping up on social media with the clip, and I'm like, holy shit! You talk about a callback. No one remembers that.
Yeah,
like I mean, no one remembers.
Well, that's because we don't expect. That's because we spent so much time in the Vince McMahon era that they did without long-term booking. That all of a sudden long-term booking and callbacks happen, and we're like, oh shit, they actually remember.
So yeah, that it's now looking back, it's less awkward now that you know that. But at the time, the "This is awkward" chant was fucking hilarious on TV because it picked up pretty well on TV. The "This is awkward" chant, like it was extremely awkward. Like what the fuck is going on? But I mean, aside from that, and obviously not knowing at the time, but like I know I've seen people say it was or you said the MJF ring. Is that? Didn't you text me and say that? Right?
No, that wasn't me.
And
I thought it was one of the. I thought it was one of the shells from from Roman's necklace. The puka shells.
One of the pepper shells.
Yeah.
All right. Well. So I'm going to give credit to my cousin then. My cousin Jim. Me and him were texting. He was at Mania Night too as well, and he texted me and said, "What if it's MJF's ring?" I was like, man, like the Ring of Honor, like that would be fucking amazing. But I do not think it's that. And then I heard them talking about, I want to say it was LeBar. Justin LeBar was on with La Greca and on Busted Open. And he said, or what if it's, or it could have been Bully. What if it's a watch? What if it's a broken up watch? What if it's the watch that Nick Khan and Triple H and Bruce Pritchard got for Cody, and somehow The Rock got his hands on it? Because if you put a watch in someone's hand that's broken, you would immediately know what it is without, you know what I mean? You hold a watch, you know what a watch is. And especially a guy like Cody, who's all about watches. Second, you put something like that into a guy's hand who is an aficionado of it, you're going to know what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And if you feel
especially because he was just given that watch by Triple H.
Yeah. Which I think is an interesting twist if we're ever going to find out, which with this era, I feel like they do everything for a purpose. So we probably will find out. But a watch, man, if it's that watch, like, and they just got a dummy watch and did that, like, that's fucking amazing. That's cool storytelling. So, I mean, look, what?
The other thing that I had considered, I was talking with my buddy Jeff. You've met Jeff. Was potentially it's a literal brass ring.
Okay.
And that's you reached for the brass ring that has gone on for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
In colloquial WWE speak.
Yeah.
Grabbing the brass ring, and the whole "Don't break my heart again" was him leaving. And now he comes back to grab the brass ring, and he's saying, "Don't leave again," basically.
Wow. That's pretty deep. That's a lot more thought than I put into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're already building the next Cody, so
yeah.
Osprey.
Yeah, yeah, of course. um, yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Rock's going away, so now we're going to have to get that next feud. We have the a fatal four-way that was extremely entertaining, a hell of a way of ending Raw in Philly.
Yeah.
You had the CM Punk interference holding McIntyre back, screwing McIntyre again. You have obviously you have the number one contender now for the world title, which I guess you could have guessed it would be Jay, but I mean, still, like,
I'm surprised they're going to give him that loss that early.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting out of that match, but I mean,
Or there's something screwy.
Yeah,
They continue the Jimmy feud or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
because Roman's gone now. Rock's
Yeah.
gone. What is left for Jimmy and Solo at this point?
Well,
So-
I mean, we do also. I mean, there was word that came out. Was it night or day two? Really, that they signed Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
So there's another Bloodline member that could pop up. It's going to be interesting to see how the Bloodline kind of makes this transition now. You had Roman on Monday post a video saying, yesterday I mourned, today is day one. So obviously, I don't know how long he's going to take. I think there's still a lot of questions that have to be answered, but it looks bright. I mean, especially with this new era, the storytelling, I think, is going to be amazing. And everyone's getting a story, and that's how wrestling should be. It should be a story-driven, not company, but profession in general. So even the smallest things, like the LWO story, that they never would have had a story 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know what I mean? It would have just been, here's a couple matches for them to go. But now they're getting time. They're getting their promos in the back. There's promos in the ring. You're having people defect. You're having new members try and join. Like, you're having a lot of stuff with supplemental storylines that are not just Cody Roman, that I think WWE is. We've been saying this for months now, maybe actually probably since Roman, years, that they're firing. They're not missing now. Everything they're doing, they're not missing.
Yeah. And it's the difference between Triple H, who was a wrestler, not only, at the height of WWE's popularity, but was also in the era where wrestlers were given more free reign with their promos, with even creative control somewhat. But they were given more free reign, because Cody's even talked about, like, he came up with ideas, and then Rey Mysterio would just basically kick open Vince's door and say, "We're doing this." And Vince is like, "Right on." And, so he's been in that era where The Rock could go out and just say shit. Stone Cold could go out and just say shit. And it came across as more authentic because it was just them saying shit. And
in their words,
I think
not someone else's words.
Exactly. And they also, as soon as Triple H took over, first thing they did, they hired a head of long-term booking. And they started putting thought into where they wanted to go and where they wanted to end up, rather than what's going to pop a rating this week. And, who's going to sell the most merch? It's telling legitimate stories and intertwining those stories, because, started with Punk Seth, with the whole, Punk comes back, Seth doesn't like him. And then all of a sudden, Drew and Sammy are in this whole thing, and Drew gets bitter, takes out Sammy, and goes for the title. And then Punk interjects into that. When Punk gets injured, Drew takes over, but Punk still interjects in that storyline with Drew, while Seth's there with Drew with his own story. And then Sammy moves to Gunther and starts intertwining Gable's story with Gunther. And then so they're all their stories interconnect and weave in and out of each other. So it feels like a live environment. Like it feels like, an actual place where people are rather than just, oh, I'm mad at you, I'm going to fight you. And, where people have disagreements, people have, friendships, and they build those friendships and they build those enemies up. But just because you have one enemy doesn't mean you don't have other enemies.
True.
And so building those stories up is where they really, I think that's the biggest staple of this era is you can have everyone having their own individual story without storylines.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that you don't really need storylines when you're intertwining everyone's stories and they're just living their lives. We want titles, but just because I want a title doesn't mean I'm not going to have other issues with other people.
Yeah. Or they stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Same with Damien. Damien, he had his own storyline with the tag titles, with R-Truth and everything like that, with the whole comedy gimmick. But you notice they set up that Drew feud early on, 3-4 months ago?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that comes back into effect.
Yeah.
And now Drew's pissed at Damian Priest again.
Yeah. And there's history that you build off of. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is they've given stories time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to, this person's mad at this person. 2 matches, they go 50-50 booking, blow off match at a pay-per-view. You had Damien and him had a conflict, but it was set aside for other goals. And then the conflict reignited when another issue happened.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is they're long-term storytelling rather than just booking matches.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I think coming forward, it's going to be interesting to see what they set up. I feel like we're going to be in a kind of a holding pattern for next week or two because they did announce on Monday that we have the draft coming up, and that's the Friday night on SmackDown, the 26th of April. And then that obviously that following Monday, the 29th, will be on Raw. So, like, I see them, obviously, I'm sure they're going to keep some people together because, like we said, that you have stories that you want to keep telling. You're probably going to keep a McIntyre and a Punk on the same show. Stuff like that. But it's going to be interesting because you have Braun Breaker, who him and Corbin just lost the title on Tuesday, which they retained at Stand and Deliver, which, by the way, was an amazing show. But Tuesday, they lost their titles, and there was a clip that WWE posted on their socials of Hunter HBK hugging Braun. So it looks like he's probably done there. So you have Braun
Well, he
Breaker.
officially signed with SmackDown, didn't he? Signed the contract.
Yeah, and that was about a month ago, but he's still Michael still want to use him through Stand and Deliver. But I think now they dropped the titles. You got a Braun Breaker that's going to be in the draft. You have a Jade Cargill who's there to do that.
You got a Dragunov.
Yeah, Dragunov who came up on Monday.
Appeared on Monday.
Surprised the shit out of me. I did not expect that. I think a lot of and you even saw Roxanne Perez on Monday night. Like there was a good mix. Like it is the Monday after Raw. I think it delivered a lot more than last year's delivered. You got really good matches. You got stars that you don't typically see on Raw that you can expose to all those people who watched the Raw after Mania just to see what was going on. So you got them that exposure, even if they're not coming up right away. Like all in all, with this draft coming up, it's looking very bright for the WWE. If it couldn't get more bright than what this weekend just had.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the biggest thing WWE has done that they hadn't done for 15, 20 years is they're finally building new stars.
Yeah.
That was always the problem. Because even when they tried to build new stars, you end up with the 2015 Royal Rumble where Roman gets booed out of the building, that even The Rock coming back to raise his hand gets
it didn't
booed.
matter. Yeah.
And build those storylines and intertwining and everything is one thing, but building those new stars, and granted, Trips built NXT. That was his thing. And now he has Hunter taking care of it. And they're
Shawn Michaels.
working together. Oh my God.
Now, see, I did it to you.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
So, Trips and HBK is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Are taking care of NXT, and they're building these stars to come up.
Yeah.
And they're building them to, okay, they fulfilled everything they can do for NXT. They move up. And then you get people like Baron Corbin that did everything he could do at that time frame and went back down to NXT to repackage. And you have those moments like that coming back from the injured list in baseball. You have your,
play the minor leagues for a little bit. The rehab starts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing with Natalia. Like Natalia's went down.
Yeah.
And those types of things. They're building those stars. Someone like a Cody, like granted, Cody built himself and then came over, but Seth Rollins, big star. LA Knight, becoming a big star. Damian Priest, becoming a big star. Drew McIntyre, becoming a big star.
Yeah.
And you're building so many new stars that it's just like an Attitude Era where you had Rock, Cena, Trips, Undertaker, HBK, Mick Foley, all these stars that any one of them could have main evented, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
But you also have that middle ground where you had the Mark Henrys, the Gold Dust, you know what I mean? Those Kane and all the Ken Shamrock, a Big Boss Man. You had a lot of these middle players that were just as over, maybe a little under, but as over as you need a superstar to get to then be. You wouldn't be just waiting for, okay, segment 1 is setting up the main event. Segment 4 is touching on the main event. Segment 8 is the main event, and we'll just fill her here and there. Where now you're having that mid card mean something. You're having AJ do amazing work. You're having a Randy Orton. You're having guys like a Damian Priest and a Drew McIntyre, who, they're not Cody Roman. They're not ending night 1 and night 2, but if Cody Roman weren't there, McIntyre Rollins could have closed either night. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like
same with like a Sammy Gunther.
Yeah, exactly.
They are, and all credit to Gunther for making that IC title matter.
Yeah.
As much as he did, because it was floundering for a long time, but like they booked Gunther the way he needed to be booked, and credit to him for his transformation.
Yeah.
Like the way he transformed his body and everything, but like he's built himself up through the mid to reach the main event, which is where everybody thinks he's going to go now. But he could just as easily be a Kane level gatekeeper to the main event.
Yeah.
And those types of things. So you have those types of people, that are doing that. Like Dolph Ziggler did it for a long time, where he was that gatekeeper for the main event, and you have those mid-level guys like a Gable, a New Day, that can propel teams up higher, but you wouldn't be surprised if they're going for a title or they're going for a main event.
Yeah, because
Sammy Gunther, regular pay-per-view, Sammy Gunther could have main evented.
Yep, 100%.
Mania, not so much, but
yeah.
You put this on like Backlash.
Yeah,
Sammy Gunther could main event.
Yeah, and that match, the way that they absolutely killed it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I agree. That's the biggest thing and best thing is that all the positives coming out. I do want to see of the entire weekend, because you were pretty busy starting Friday on. If you have one moment that sticks out, your favorite moment of the weekend, whether it's Cody winning or whatever, what's your favorite moment that you'll remember from this weekend?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, the right answer is the ending of night 2.
Okay.
Like the right answer is pretty much the moment.
It doesn't have to be. It could be something personal. It don't have to be. I mean, if you pick it, that's an obvious pick, a safe pick. I get it. If there's nothing else that trumps that, then that's your pick. That's fine. You don't have to dig deeper.
No, I think it's. I don't know. I mean, it's so there's so many moments that were just so memorable, but it's that moment of from the gong to the end. Honestly, was just
incredible.
Like it was that moment of.
I think Cena till the end.
Yeah,
I think Cena till the end was probably because I remember after Cena you got the stare down with
But
Cena
I'm also
and Rock.
older than you guys. I'm also
but you
older than
can't tell me
guys.
Cena Rock standing and looking toe to toe at WrestleMania wasn't fucking cool with their history.
Yeah, but we've already had that twice in a lifetime.
That's true. That's true. I can't argue with that. It was still cool.
But it's that no, you know what it is? It's that I grew up, I was born in 86. So
yeah, you're not that much. Joe was born in 86 in November of 86. I was born in August of 87. So stop acting like you're 3, 4, 5 years older than us. You're not that much older.
All right. So I'm like 2 months older than Joe, 3 months older than Joe.
Yeah.
But
so calm down.
No,
over there.
well, I'm sorry. But like growing up in that era, being the age we were, 93, we were 7 years old. You've got, 93, 94, 95. You got Warrior, Hogan, Macho, Taker, DiBiase, that whole era. But that moment that gong hit, there's that moment of just pure childish joy.
Look, that's exactly what I said.
Overwhelms everything. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm jumping up and down, slapping the shit out of Joe because I was so fucking excited.
I saw husbands hugging their wives. I saw friends high-fiving.
Mm-hmm.
I saw tears in eyes. And it was like an entire stadium of 72,000 whatever people just all frozen in that moment of just pure joy.
Yeah.
That you can't match that. Like, that's why we do what we do. That's why we watch.
Yes.
Is that moment of just pure euphoria.
Yeah.
Of the exact feeling you had when your favorite wrestler wins the title at the biggest pay-per-view when you were a kid and nothing else mattered. All that mattered was that your favorite wrestler was going to beat the bad guy. And that pure joy of holding that wrestling buddy and recreating the moves in your living room as they do it on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Just that euphoric acid flashback of childhood. I think nothing compares to it.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to argue. I agree. There's a part of the weekend. I don't know if Joe will agree. I feel like he will, knowing him as well as I do. That might be right under. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking a hair under that moment. And it's because me and Joe shared this moment. So Friday night, we went to Battleground Tribute to the Extreme at ECW Arena. And the nostalgia was cool. Don't get me wrong. Like the Dudleys versus Onita and a mystery partner, and the mystery partner ended up being Tommy Dreamer. And the match was what it was. But, I mean, it was cool. And there were so many ECW guys there. So I want to say we're probably 4 matches out from the main event. And we're standing in our typical spot right in front of the snack stand. And we're have beers in our hand. We're just kind of watching. And a guy in a black jacket, red stripe down the side of his arm stands next Joe, and Joe's on my left. And I kind of look and then have to do a double take because when I look over, it's Jerry Lynn from ECW,
Oh,
from AEW,
yeah,
but ECW, fucking
yeah,
great Jerry Lynn. And
yeah.
both of us had to do a double take, and they were like, "Hey, Jerry, how are you?" He's good. How are you guys? Good. We then proceed to have a 30-minute, basically, we cut a podcast with Jerry Lynn. And
Oh, Jesus.
I'm telling you, like, if you just put a camera in front of us and would have listened to what we talked about, and I'm not going to say a damn thing about what we talked about because it was literally just for us and some of the things I wouldn't want to say. But
Yeah.
just to stand in that moment and what we were talking about, and it was all about the business. And I obviously you hear some of these guys and how great their minds are and all that, but obviously as a fan, you never get to actually witness it and hear it out of their mouth.
Yeah.
But standing with Jerry Lynn for about 30 minutes and talking the business and talking what's right and talking how things should be booked and stuff like that in the state of wrestling today. It was like a fucking master's class. And me and Joe, again, like we do a lot of these things, like we've done with almost every time we've talked to Vic and Hale and just gotten enamored with what they're talking about. Or when we had Ricky Morton on, and you go back and watch when we talk Ricky Morton, we didn't talk. We listened and let him do all the work because this is all we were doing. Now we were asking questions, and there were certain questions I didn't think he would answer, but he came right out and answered it. And I also think Jerry was feeling good because he had 2 vodka tonics in his hand. So he was definitely feeling good and was probably telling us more than he probably should have or would have if he didn't have those drinks in his hand. But to stand there in ECW Arena talking to Jerry Lynn about the business and then and like people were coming up and taking pictures with him and he wasn't breaking stride. I mean, he for a split second stop, pose, smile, thank you very much, turn around, and keep continuing his thought. And like, and just that whole time. And then he was getting ready to go. He's like, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm sorry for bending your ear. And me and Joe look at each other and go, are you fucking kidding me? You're Jerry Lynn. Like, you could talk to us for another hour. Like, let's go. We can go sit at the bar. We'll buy you 2 more. Like, we'll keep talking.
Right?
Like you're Jerry Lynn. But he was just so gracious. And he didn't have to stop. And like, he was coming to see his friends and see them perform. A match and a half. A match and a half. I couldn't tell you what the fuck happened in the matches, what matches we missed, because we were just so locked in. And that is one of those moments that's right under that moment you just talked about, because it was just some things that you don't think you would ever get the chance to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and yeah, Jerry Lynn, if you talk to a typical wrestling fan, is probably not going to know who Jerry Lynn is. But in that building, that night, to be able to stand and talk with him, we didn't need, like, Joe was like, I'm glad that neither one of us asked for a picture or tried to get him on the podcast. I'm glad we just talked. I was like, there are certain times you do that, but you read the room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the time to be like, hey, let's get, even though other people were, and I'm sure he would have been fine with it, but it's just like, we didn't need anything else.
You don't want to spoil the moment.
Exactly. We had 30 minutes with one of the most smart wrestling minds that we've ever talked to. And that alone was just mind-blowing. The rest of the night, the night for me and Joe were over. Like, we saw the main event and all, but like, we couldn't stop. Like, to ride home, we were going over it in our head and like talking about it and talking about the things, because it's just like, Joe even looked at me, he goes, no one can tell me anything because what I just talked to Jerry Lynn about. He's like,
See,
no one can say anything to me.
Lovely Brotherly Love audience coming soon. Brotherly Love Wrestling, the official wrestling company coming soon with head bookers, masterly trained by Jerry Lynn in 30 minutes in an ECW arena.
Look, man, it was, and not only that, also that day we got there, we kind of snuck in. We didn't sneak in, but everyone standing outside, we kind of just walked in and sat down, and we got a couple beers, and it was like a band was playing, but it was very scarce. There was only like 15 people in the entire place. And we're sitting drinking beer, and Rhino is sitting at his table, and they're like, all right, everybody out. Everyone has to leave because then we have to fix the chairs and then come back in. And like Joe's like, it's too fucking cold. I'm not going back out there. He's like, we're finding a way of staying in here. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, you're just going to say we're wrestlers? They're going to believe us? Like, we got to leave. He was like, fuck it, let's just go stand with somebody. So we walk over to Rhino. We're standing kind of next to him, but we weren't saying anything. And Rhino looks over and goes, hey, guys. And he has these flyers that Rhino has a promotion in Michigan that he's trying to get off the ground.
Yeah.
So we start talking to him about his promotion in Michigan, and then he starts talking about boating. And he's apparently into boats big time. And we start talking about boating out of all things. And then the security's like yells, everybody who's not a wrestler out. And I look over at Joe and he was like, we're with Rhino. I was like, yeah. And Rhino looks over. He was like, yeah, I can't help you guys. All right. Well, Joe's like, we can be your first and second mate. Whatever you need. You need boat guys? We can be boat guys.
We'll handle the rigging. We don't mind.
But yeah, and we got to talk to Rhino for 10, 15 minutes, just kind of trying to buy our time. And that was pretty cool because Rhino you feel like he's very reserved, but he was a really nice guy. And it was cool to talk to him. So those experiences, that's the only other thing that I'm holding up there because they're personal experiences that you don't just come across every day. But I do agree, it's hard for that last little bit of Mania of night 2, which is going to go down as one of the greatest WrestleMania main events in history.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be hard to top that. But personal, obviously, those couple things that were able to happen were pretty fucking cool. And that not a lot of people are going to be able to come out of Mania Week and say that. So, that's one thing I know.
Yeah, Jen and I did WrestleCon on Friday morning and got to meet Dustin, got to meet Tony Schiavone.
How was meeting Dustin, by the way?
He was incredibly nice.
Okay.
We walked up. It was quick because he had a line, but he had, his gloves on, had his outfit. Like, it wasn't his gear, but had a nice almost half suit on and had gloves on. And we walked up, we were shook his hand, very nice to meet you. We're great fans of yours and everything. You're really awesome, really excited to see what you do. And he goes, all right, you two, get in here. And he brings us both in and squeezes us into his body. And I felt so tiny because he is so fucking tall.
He's a big fucking dude.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, come here. And he's gripping us up. And he's like, oh, yeah. All right, it was great. Nice to meet you guys. Sends us on our way. Billy Gunn, same thing. Billy Gunn is fucking ginormous. I half expected him to pick me up and carry me. He was like, oh, bring it in here nice and tight. Let's get nice and cozy. He squeezes us in, and his arms are fucking huge. And
massive.
He's just
his shoulders are giant too.
And Jen just leans over his pec and goes, he's fucking huge. And he goes, damn right I am. And I was fucking dying. And it was so funny. And met Tony Schiavone, but Tony seemed really tired. I'm sure he had a long flight and stuff like that, but he was really nice. He listened to stories, told us a couple stories and stuff like that. But we got to meet a few other wrestlers. Weren't that impressive, but got to meet Mansoor and got to meet Mace.
Yeah.
And they were promoting their promotion and stuff like that, and got to talk to them a little bit, do a little back and forth, stuff like that, rub elbows with the wrestlers. That was really cool. They were really welcoming. They were like, oh yeah, you want to take a picture, you want an autograph? Cool. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't match.
Yeah.
Match up to Sunday night.
Yeah. So now that we are done talking about WWE, I feel like it would be a disservice if we didn't touch on the most current event that's going on in wrestling that happened last night. Obviously, we're recording this on Thursday, so last night on Dynamite on Wednesday, And we can back up and we'll lead more towards it, but we have the releasing of the footage of security footage from Wembley with CM Punk and Jack Perry. And if everyone remembers, this was the footage and the incident. I'm not calling it a fight. It's an incident that happened to where Tony Khan said he was threatened. His life felt threatened by this big brawl that happened.
And that there was a monitor thrown and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Brawl in.
Yeah. So that was at least the mental picture that was put out by Tony Khan. And obviously CM Punk was fired. At the time, that's what we were told. Jack Perry is still suspended by AEW. We still haven't seen him on AEW TV, even though he's over in New Japan. So now we had CM Punk go on Ariel Helwani, which I thought was a incredibly seemed to be truthful interview. Seemed like he didn't pull no punches, but he wasn't as miserable. Didn't really feel like he was shooting at the world with this one like he was in the Colt Cabanas, when he left WWE. So, like, after that happens, because what was that? Monday or Tuesday of last week, right? Before Mania?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And now all of a sudden, Saturday night on Collision, they announced that they're going to release the footage from CM Punk because obviously he bothered somebody by telling what happened. And all CM Punk said happened was, I asked him, why are you doing that out there? He got in my face, told me you're going to do something about it. And I put him in a chokehold, and then we got breaking up. It's exactly what Punk said. So we lead to last night.
It was word for word. Like, that's the hilarious thing is somebody dubbed his voice over the video.
It was Ariel Helwani.
Word for word, moment by moment.
Yeah, Ariel Helwani took
exactly what he said.
Took that piece and put it next to what AEW released, and it literally fit. The timing was perfect. That he literally almost narrated it.
Let me just say, watching like the build up to this video over the past months and months to the actual viewing of this video is like going to a wrestler meet and greet and expecting Cody Rhodes and getting Ted DiBiase Jr. That's what this video was. It was built up for months and months and months, and all this drama and all this back and forth on Twitter and Instagram and whatever fucking Reddit subreddit you want to join, and fucking Cornet's talking about it, and Russo's talking about it, and Meltzer's talking about it, and SRS is talking about it. Everybody's going back and forth, and it's the most bland bullshit of all time. It did nothing for them. Absolutely nothing.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a good look for Tony Khan. It wasn't a good look for AEW. It was a good look for Punk because it makes him look like everything he said in that interview, even aside from that, is absolutely true. Exactly. Because now Punk, you look at it and go, well, if he didn't lie about that, and that's exactly what happened, and you see that's what happened, why should we not believe that everything he said is how it went down? Like,
why should I not believe that Tony Khan's a joke and a fucking mark?
Yeah, and not have no control, which a lot of people have been alluding to over the past couple of years, that he doesn't have the control. And now you see that. And was there anything life-threatening? Like, he put a guy in a chokehold. In 3 seconds, it was broken up by Samoa Joe. And then he looked at the table and probably said, "You're a fucking clown, I quit." And then walked away.
Yeah, he leaned over and pointed at him and then walked away.
Yeah. Where was life-threatening? Why? Because a guy yelled at you and pointed and cursed at you?
Because Tony Khan is 90 pounds sopping wet and he's a full fucking mark. Because he doesn't know. You know what? I was talking with Jen about this earlier, and I related it to this. Tony Khan running AEW is the parents that say they want to be friends with their kids rather than parents.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what it is. He's such a fucking mark. And don't get me wrong, I love AEW. I've defended it, when back and forth with all of us with Joe. when I brought up different points trying to defend AEW, the table for four,
You certainly
trying to
have.
defend it as the alternative with Scott.
Yep.
But Tony Khan is a fucking mark. He sees these wrestlers. He wants to be one of the boys so fucking bad. Wants to be on the inside and use terms like face and heel and jobber and all these other fucking inside terms. And he's a fucking mark. He's just a mark that wants to fantasy book, and he has enough money to do it.
Well,
and that's all it is.
The funny thing is, you bring that up and you say that, like, being friends with wrestlers. When after night 2, and I'm not sure if the people that watched the end of night 2 caught the rest of what was going on in the ring, because I'm not sure where it like cut off for the feed for Peacock. But when Hunter came out and Cody was talking to Hunter, and they kind of touched heads and then they hugged, and he raised his hand. Like, I leaned over to Joe and I was like, huh, look at that. I was like, there's a CEO that actually knows how to hug his employees. And Joe starts dying laughing. I was like, he didn't even tuck his head into Cody's chest and hug him like he was an 8-year-old kid. Like, look at that. Right? He hugged him like a man. Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between Triple H hugging one of his dudes and Tony Khan hugging his dudes, because it looks incredibly fucking awkward. Like, it looks like a little kid.
But you can also tell a lot of the time, don't get me started on his fucking crazy eyes. Because he looks coked out of his mind nonstop.
Yeah, we know that.
He looks like he's constantly in a state of shock. Like, he can't believe that he gets to fantasy book his own promotion. And you can tell he comes out every week. It's another, I've got a big announcement. I'm going to come on TV. It's not that big announcement. You want something to be big, build it.
You don't do it every other fucking episode. You announce a big announcement. That's not that. You're taking the word big and you're diminishing what it means. Like, that's the thing is, like, look, I, again, like you, and as well as anyone else who watches this show, when we talk about AEW, I also try and be very optimistic, and have definitely watched more AEW than Joe does. And week after week, I've tried, and I thought after Sting it was getting better because Ospreay was there, and it has been getting better. I'm not going to shit on AEW's talent, because the talent's fucking great. The booking sucks, but the thing is, like, after this, and I didn't even want to watch Dynamite, honestly, last night. I didn't want to see it because I knew what was going to come of it. I knew how bad it was going to be if it was going to be true. Now, I was going to be a fan if they swerved you. If they played something fucking retarded, I would have laughed. I think it would have been great.
Don't use that word.
Sorry.
Don't use that word.
As it came out, I realized it. I'm not meaning mentally challenged when I say that. I'm still have the 90s term in my head.
I know.
But I thought it would have been great heat for the Bucks. Like, let people be pissed off. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
You mean 800,000 people are just not going to watch it? No, they're going to watch regardless. They're AEW fans. Give them more heat. I like that.
Give me the video, step by step, exactly how they had it. Replace Punk with Cutler.
Yeah.
Replace Jack with fucking Colt Cabana.
Yeah.
Because you even got your own little inside jab at Punk with Colt being in it. And replace Joe with fucking Will Hobbs.
Yeah.
And
you could have did a dark side of the ring. You could have did a dark side of the ring thing and just fucking done shadows and silhouettes and really produced that shit up. And it would have been hilarious. It would have been great. And then you could have come back on camera with the Bucks presenting it like they did and be laughing at everybody. And just it would have been major heat. People would have been fucking furious, and it would have been great. Fuck them. Who cares?
What happened to killing the business?
Yeah, exactly.
They built their entire empire on killing the business, and then you turn around and do some high school ass drama, petty bullshit like this.
Now I'm
It
hearing
just doesn't make sense.
I'm hearing that the Bucks were against showing it.
No, they weren't, supposedly.
Really?
That came out later from Meltzer later that the Bucks were on board.
Okay.
But they were only hesitant at first because they wanted to check with FTR to see if it was okay.
Okay.
But that's what came out of Meltzer.
Okay.
And
take what he says with a grain of salt.
Dave plans change Meltzer.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But hell, they could have fucking shown the actual video and dubbed their own audio over it.
Yeah.
Where they're playing Punk and Jack.
Yeah.
I would have fucking died.
Yeah.
I would have died.
Yeah.
But no, it just comes off as petty high school drama bullshit. And it just makes Tony look so fucking bad.
It makes him look weak. Bad. I mean, obviously bad. It makes him look very weak. It also, I think a lot of people
they're punching up.
Yeah, and not only that, from what I've seen today, I'm listening to a lot. Like today, I listened to Busted Open, and Justin LeBar and LaGreca were on talking about it, and it was just like people are referring to this like WCW 2000. Like, this is not good. They're talking about how in 8 months to a year to 15 months, we're going to be looking at this going, there was the moment. There was that'll put a lot of butts in seats. That is the AEW moment. And I'm like, I hope not. I don't want fucking AEW
Honestly,
to go down.
It was, to be exact, a text I sent to Jen and to Jeff is you go from this Shivani
yes
to that Shivani.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Shivani. Right after the moment. You go from there to there.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking face.
For those listening.
It's the same disappointed face.
For those listening, Joe, sorry, his Coach Joe. Bill pulled up a picture on his phone of Tony Schiavone after last night's segment aired, but then also pulled over the segment from WCW in 2000, where he was extremely defeated, and it's the exact same look. And people are going to make excuses.
That extremely defeated picture from back then was right after the Mick Foley line.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing.
It's the same face. And same thing, somebody else pointed out something else. The defeated look on Renee's face when Ospreay was cutting his promo.
That was the other thing I wanted to say.
Renee is best friends with Stephanie.
Yeah.
And he's talking shit about Triple H porking the boss's wife and thrusting his hips forward. Boss's daughter. And thrusting his hips and shit. And don't get me wrong. Triple H and Stephanie have written lines for other people to say about them that are much worse than what Ospreay said. And I get his point that Triple H made a comment about, free agents that, want to sign for somewhere else don't want to do the grind. They want the easy schedule. I get that. And Ospreay took that personally, thinking they were talking about him because he was a free agent.
But in all fairness, so was Sasha Banks. Yeah. So was Okada. Like, it couldn't have. I mean, yes, most likely was it about Ospreay? Probably.
Yeah.
But not definitely. And second of all, that's Hunter being Hunter, and he has his beliefs. And if you're not going to want to do it and work the way that he worked, I get that's where he comes from. And I get where Ospreay comes from because, look, if I can get paid what he's getting paid for less dates, less abuse on my body, I can stay at home and see my kids or see my wife or whatever it may be. Like, obviously, look, Kevin Nash did it. Like, Razor did it.
Pay me $20,000 to fly in, do a 5-minute promo on TV, and fly back home.
Yeah, but look, I mean, we had a conversation when we met Nash. When me and Joe met Nash and Scott Hall, we had a conversation with them while waiting at the table talking about TNA and how TNA was a 10-minute drive from his house. He was like, and they're paying me $800,000. $800,000. Who wouldn't fucking take that 10 minutes from your house? Like, I get it. I don't hold anything, but the thing is the softness, that comes out of AEW. It comes as a very, you hurt my feelings, so now like I'm gonna try and make a dig at you and hurt your feelings. And the Bucks come off very, very immature and soft. They always, I mean, you looked at them, they were young. Look, they're our age, or like one's a little younger, one's like a year older, whatever it is. So like when they were coming up in their the mid-20s, when they were starting to get, like, that's different. They were still doing the DX. They were still doing the Too Sweet. Like, they were doing all that. The typical 20-year-olds would do as well. But, like, look, you guys are EVPs of a national wrestling company.
And almost 40.
Yeah, it's time to fucking grow up.
They're more likely to go through a midlife crisis at this point than through the immaturity that they're going through.
Yeah, like it just, I don't know if it's them or if it is Tony Khan, but either way, grow the fuck up, have some balls, and say something to this dude, because no one fucking says anything to him, and even if they do, he turns around and gives them their fucking way anyway. So just like have some balls and run this company, but they won't do that because they have the same mindset as Tony. That's why AEW is in the position it's in, and I've said it since he left. Cody is the reason that company was the way it was, and now is the way it is, because he's not there, because he was the one with the revolution. He was the one changed the world.
Yeah.
They are the ones who, let's sign every big free agent we can, and let's do this, and we'll just do dream matches. Fuck storytelling.
Fucking Mark.
Fuck storytelling.
Fucking Mark.
Storytelling doesn't work, even though WWE is doing the biggest business that any company has ever done, even over the Attitude Era. But storytelling doesn't work. We just want dream matches every fucking week. Like,
and I said this last night while watching the show. They went from indie super show to alternative product to back to super indie show.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it. The match quality, don't get me wrong, match quality, awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
But Edge Open Challenge is not a storyline.
I mean, look, I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with that though. Like Open Challenge, because they don't do it all the time, and WWE has stopped doing it, which I kind of wish they'd go back to it. I like the Open Challenge. Yeah. I like him and Penta. I thought that match out of that entire show, because I felt the show after that segment kind of went off air. But like,
it died.
Yeah, but Edge and fucking Penta was fucking great. And they have those matches all the time, and their wrestling is great. No one's saying the talent in AEW is bad. It's the fucking booking and the leadership, or lack thereof leadership, of AEW. It's absolutely horrible.
The problem is that when they first started, everything was a dream match.
Because nothing had happened yet.
And because nothing had happened yet. But the problem is longevity comes from investment by fans.
Mm-hmm.
And you could put on all the 5, 6, 7, 8-star matches that you want. But if they're not invested in that wrestler, it's just another match. And that's the problem, is it's cool to see for that moment, but I'm not going to be talking about it later. It's not something I'm going to bring up and go, wow, this story is fucking incredible.
Yeah, but when you did do that?
It's going to be
when Cody was there. When they did Cody Aldis, when you did Cody Dustin, when you had those actual stories built into AEW, and Cody and Aldis, I know, was not AEW. That was their first pay-per-view before that. But like, that's the thing, is that because they don't do storytelling like that, because they rather do, and I can't stand one-off matches. I don't care who the fuck is in them. I don't care. You're not throwing, like Okada's match last night. I didn't give a shit. Okada does not need a fucking squash match. He doesn't. What does Okada need a squash match for? For what?
Yeah.
You have all that fucking talent. And that was the other thing that bothered me about that fucking Bucks segment, was because you have wrestlers that are sitting in the fucking back, or even in the back, or at home, because you're not featuring them yet. You can put that shit on for 5 to 7 minutes and air that shit. Yet you have a girl like now Thunder Rosa's finally getting some airtime and now getting a title match. But how long did Thunder Rosa fucking fizzle, even though she was injured, But when she wasn't injured, just fizzle. You never gave her any time on the mic. Like,
Yeah.
it's shit like that you're going to air that bullshit. But you have so much talent in the back, a bloated roster that's sitting there dying to get on TV, and you can't do that. But that you put that bullshit out there with a guy that's not even on your roster, and they're chanting his name when you want to make him look like the bad guy, and they're chanting his name in your arena.
Yeah.
Like, you look so fucking stupid. You look horrible. I've never been this negative about AEW because that's how much it bothers me. And I don't want to do that because the talent there is fucking amazing.
This is fucking perfect. The one show that Joe isn't on. And we just sit here trashing AEW for 20 minutes. Fucking your fault, Joe. Grow the beard back and get back on camera.
I mean, it just I've said it every time I try to defend AEW against him and he wants them to succeed too. He doesn't want them to fail.
Yeah.
I want them to succeed. I want more wrestling. That's all I want to fucking watch is wrestling. Ask my wife. She's sick of wrestling every single night. But when you put shows on like that and you do this petty bullshit like that, I don't want to watch you. I don't give a fuck. Like, get me invested in your characters and your story. I don't want to deal with petty bullshit. Like, look, we're going close to our 40s. We're done with drama. We don't need that bullshit. Just entertain us. We want to escape, not have to deal with drama on our TV too.
Yeah. I relate AW to it's the best match quality you can get, but you have to suffer through reality TV to get to it. And that's kind of how it feels. It feels like reality TV writers are writing the scripts. The last big storyline they had was what? 4 months ago? It was the Devil.
Yeah.
4 months ago.
And
now,
AEW fans hated it. They hated it.
And
AEW fans hated
it.
Yeah.
That was their one big storyline, the big payoff, and everybody fucking hated it. And it was predictable as fuck. You knew it was going to be Adam Cole.
I'm fine with that. And I'm cool with that. At least it's a fucking story. I don't care if it's predictable.
Like, don't get me wrong. I fucking love those segments with Adam Cole and MJF.
Yeah.
The random, restaurant
showing up at a bar.
trips.
Yeah.
Yeah. The double clothesline to the waiter and shit like that. Fucking hilarious. I loved it.
It was good shit.
But, like, that was them having a storyline from week to week. And part of me leans into that idea of, well, who trained MJF?
Yeah.
Who taught MJF what he knows about the business?
Cody.
And now MJF's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Whether for good or just out injured or signed a new contract and he's just out. Who's gone? Where's the storylines?
Yeah.
The only good storyline was the one he was involved in. Now, granted, everything I've said, I talked about last night with a couple friends, and I had to say, except Swerve.
Swerve's awesome. Swerve is the
Swerve's
great spot.
And Swerve's storyline with Hangman that just
has been amazing.
Fucking gone. Where is it?
Yeah, it was.
Where's the continuation?
That might be your other the one we forgot. The story is Hangman and Swerve after the Devil, because that's the one where there actually was storytelling. And
the problem is
Edge Christian or Copeland Christian.
Okay,
that was there's another one that had me invested as well, but is also Edge and Christian.
But that was also because they signed another big free agent and had to, and Edge probably got creative control and booked himself.
Yeah.
And, and same thing with Edge. You think Tony Khan brought in Matt Cardona to face Edge? No.
Mm.
No. Matt Cardona would have been in AEW ages ago then.
Yeah.
Edge brought in Matt Cardona to face Matt Cardona because of the Edge heads. And it was a one-time appearance at Edge's request.
It was cool.
Edge has creative control, so Edge booked that shit himself. So I don't count Edge. because Edge has the star power to be able to book his own storylines. I highly doubt Tony's booking Edge and telling Edge what he needs to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think Swerve and Hangman's up high enough that he could book his own storylines.
You would think, yeah.
You know, and where has he been since they had that moment? The last moment was what, 3 weeks ago?
Well, yeah, I mean,
ago?
yeah, you had the thing with Joe to start off the show last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
But are you talking about just Hangman
about
him?
Just Hangman Swerve.
I got
Because that
you,
was
I
the
got you.
storyline build.
Yeah, I
The
got
title was just interjected in it.
Yeah.
That was Hangman saying, I'm going to prevent you from getting the title. Anyone but you. Idea.
Yeah.
Didn't matter who had the title. Didn't matter if the title was vacant.
Yeah.
It was anyone but you. It was Hangman Swerve. That storyline just fucking gone. It disappeared. Now it's Swerve Joe.
Yeah.
So what happened? Where did the storyline you built for 2 months with no payoff just poof? And now it's Swerve Hangman or Swerve Samoa.
Yeah.
The only other thing I can think of is Hangman comes out at Dynasty and costs Swerve the belt,
which could happen. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah.
So but I mean,
if they don't do it, the storyline's dead.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense if he wins the title and then all of a sudden Hangman shows up and then you try and build that.
Because the whole point was preventing him from getting the title.
Yeah.
And then he wins the title without Hangman's interference. Now Hangman comes back bitching because he won the title.
Yeah.
It just makes Hangman look bad.
I know. Look, as great as WWE is rolling, is the opposite snowball effect that AEW is going through right now. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better.
The problem with AEW versus WWE conversations is that WWE's storyline is so much better than AEW's. AEW's match quality is better, but not that much better. There's a gap this big between the match quality in AEW and the match quality in WWE, and there's a much bigger gap between the storytelling.
Well,
it doesn't equal.
The one thing before we close, I will say that makes a lot of sense, that AEW was good at a point where WWE wasn't, and they were the alternative, and everyone was sick of WWE, and so they came in at that perfect point. So it was, I fucking hate WWE. Their matches suck. Their storytelling sucks. We need something different. We can't stand Vince McMahon booking and blah, 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 blah. But here comes dream matches, and here comes featuring a lot of tag teams. And look, even the women are getting some rub. Look at Britt Baker. Look at all these people. Chris Statlander. They have a lot of talent, and they're featuring them. This is amazing. Now, all of a sudden, pandemic hits, still doing a lot better. Even better than NXT, to where you beat NXT, which was the better wrestling product of all three shows on WWE side, and you're beating them. So you're doing something right. Then COVID happens, and then August of 2020 happens, and you have the tribal chief being anointed and joining with Paul Heyman. Well, all of a sudden, storytelling starts to even, matches start to even, and storytelling starts to accelerate, and AEW didn't go anywhere. They stayed right where they were. So that great product that was crushing WWE because everyone hated WWE, well, now everyone likes what WWE's doing. They like their storytelling. They like their matches. They're putting on better matches. They're putting them on for longer. They're featuring more women. They brought in a Chelsea Green, who people have been dying to bring in, because then they know that leads to Matt Cardona. They bring in and take Jade Cargill away, which is another big fucking mistake by AEW. You're bringing these stars in. You're making a Braun Breaker, an Ilya Dragunov. You're making these people. Now you're just shuffling them out. Oh, Okay, wait, we need a powerhouse, Braun Breaker. Oh, we need a psychopath and who can sell his ass off. All right, here's Ilya Dragunov. Wait, we got a dominant woman that you had that you couldn't do anything with. Let's make her a superstar. Now all of a sudden the WWE is going like this and AEW's still right here. Look, yeah, it was great when WWE sucked, but guess what? WWE don't suck anymore. And we were the first people to say how bad it sucked. We hated coming on here and talking about fucking boring ass Monday Night Raw. We hated it.
The irony is AEW's whole thing when they started was change the world, and they haven't changed shit.
No. They
haven't changed themselves.
They changed for the worse. They changed for the worse. Because they got rid of Cody. Yeah. They let Jade go. You let a bunch of Sean Spears is in NXT. The Brian Pillman Jr., Lexus King is in NXT. Who knows who's going to go next? Like they already took 2 of your biggest stars in Jade and Cody. People are and now the roster doesn't like what Tony just did on Wednesday. And now they're looking at him going, what the fuck is he doing? Why would you air that? Even FTR comes out and says, why are we playing something for 8 fucking months ago? Why are we doing this? I know that storyline and all, and it's a build for bucks, but like there's a layer of truth in that. Why the fuck are we paying attention to someone who's not on our roster? It's just that's the main thing. WWE got better, so now fans are like, oh, I can watch WWE again because they're better. So now AEW is just left in the dust with 700 to 800,000 people. Well, they just when The Rock Cody was on Monday night, they cracked 3 million.
Yeah.
The rating was fucking ridiculous. Well, guess what? Now
and that's the thing,
awesome.
And that's why everybody keeps comparing it to the Mick Foley rant.
Yeah.
From WCW is because a former wrestler that worked for your company achieved something big, and you feel you have to drag him down to the mud for it, and end up backfiring.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why everybody's going, well, we know what the next step in the story is.
We've seen this before.
All we're waiting on is the next finger poke of doom. And
or the cattle prod.
Then we know where it's going. I swear to God, if they book Disco Inferno, I'm walking out. I'm never watching it again.
Glenn Gilberti will be nowhere near AEW ever. He's too smart for that. No fucking way.
Fucking Disco Inferno. He's such a trash human, but anyway.
Well, I mean, we started off very positive and very feel good. Ended very negatively, which Joe would, I'm sure, love.
He's going to be so mad when he watches this episode and realizes we just spent a fucking 45-minute rant on AEW.
Yeah, we hope you feel better, Joe. Hopefully, we're going to be trying to line up some people to be on the show. Thanks to Bill doing some networking for us, and us talking to some people that we've seen over the weekend. So hopefully we'll have some new faces, some new guests on, new conversations, and and look, and we have a lot we're going to be having to talk about. I hope AEW gets better. I hope all of a sudden this makes a change, or this does fucking something to wake Tony Khan up, or wake somebody up and shake Tony Khan and get things going. I hope it changes. I don't see it changing, but I fucking hope so, because wrestling needs AEW. Wrestling needs alternatives. And wrestling fans need an alternative to go to. I don't
especially since TNA has been having so many interactions with WWE.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope AEW turns around. I really do, but it just doesn't look good. So, but until
Arthur Ashe is getting moved, so
yeah,
who knows?
Man, I saw that Forbidden Door. I saw that. That's not a good sign. But look, there's a lot more wrestling to come. There's more stories coming. We see what happened with Cody. See what happens with Roman in the bloodline. There's a lot to look forward to, and hopefully a turnaround from AEW. So thank you for watching and listening. Thank you, Bill, for filling in for Joe while he's down and out and had a little too much fun WrestleMania weekend. Please follow, like, subscribe, and we hope you enjoyed the show. And don't take any shit from anybody. We'll see you guys next week.